Greetings of the day, dear students. Today I am with you one more lesson, Footprints Without Feet, from the book of Supplementary. Name of the supplementary book is also the same, Footprints Without Feet. This lesson is written by H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells was an English writer. He is now best remembered for his science fiction novels, and he is often called father of science fiction. Before moving on to the lesson, we have to think about what it is the introduction on this lesson. The introduction of this lesson is this story is about a scientist. His name was Griffin. One day, he discovered a wonderful drug. This drug could make him invisible. He set his landlord's house on the fire. Then he took the drug. He became invisible. He went to a village called Iping. There he stayed at an inn. The rest of the story is how he escaped from there. Now we can move on the lesson. Footprints without feet. Can a man become invisible? The questions which is related to on your thinking. Okay. This is the story of a scientist who discovers how to make himself invisible. Does he use or misuse his discovery? We can think about that. He used it properly or he misused. Okay. How did the invisible man first become visible? First question. Why was he wandering the streets? Okay, now we can think about that regarding these two questions. The two boys started in surprise at the fresh muddy imprints of a pair of bare feet. What was barefooted man doing on the steps of a house in the middle of London? And where was the man? The two boys, both they surprised by seeing the fresh muddy imprints. Imprints, it means impressions. These two boys are attracted by these muddy imprints. Okay. Of a pair of bare feet. They thought about that. In the middle of this London, who is ready to move through the bare feet? Then what was a barefooted man doing on the steps of a house in the middle of a London? They thought about that. They are very surprised by seeing these muddy imprints. And where was the man? Where was this man? Either he inside the house or he came from outside to the house. So their mind is started to calculate one by one where this muddy footprints it came from and where this man went, and either the man he was inside this house or not. Why this man he came from his bare foot? As they gazed, a remarkable sight met their eyes. A fresh footmark appeared from nowhere. Gazed, it means look intently. Here the meaning of the gaze is look intently. Okay, the intently the eyesight. It met the footprint which it is in the fresh footmark of muddy. Further footprints followed, one after another, descending the steps and progressing down the street. The boys followed, fascinated, until the muddy impressions became fainter and fainter, and at last disappeared altogether. These two boys, they followed these footprints. Okay. Until the end of this, disappear altogether. Altogether, it means here these footprints. They are fascinated, strongly attracted, strongly interested about these muddy impressions. because they didn't see, they didn't get the person. Without a person, how can this muddy footprint is here? So their mind is started to thinking more and more, as well as the body automatically followed this muddy impression. The explanation of the mystery was really simple enough. The bewildered boys had been following a scientist who had just discovered how to make the human body transparent. Bewildered, it means confused. The confused boys, two boys, they had been following a scientist. They don't know who is he. But the writer, he is telling about that the scientist, he had discovered a drug. That is a which drug? Discovered the drug how to make the human body transparent. So these two boys, they were very curious and they confused about how can we recognize the person without a body, without a physical structure. The footprint, it is already showed somewhere or some far away. So they were confused. Griffin, a scientist. Griffin, the scientist. Here, Griffin, it means name of this scientist, and there is footprints also by this scientist. Had carried out experiment after experiment to prove that the human body could become invisible. Finally, he swallowed certain rare drugs and his body became as transparent as a sheet of glass, though it also remained as solid as glass. This invisible person, transparent it means here invisible. This invisible scientist, he discovered this drug after a lot of experiment. He proved himself that yes, while swallowing this drug, the human being or the person became completely transparent. The physical features should not appear in anywhere, but the activities what the person he want to do, that it may do him by himself only, without showing the physical appearance. Okay. Brilliant scientist, though he was Griffin, rather a lawless person. His landlord disliked him and tried to eject him. In revenge, Griffin set fire to the house. To get away without being seen, he had to remove his clothes. Thus, it was that he became homeless wanderer, without clothes, without money, and quite invisible, until he happened to step in some mud and left footprints as he walked. Brilliant scientist. The brilliant, it means here related to a talented scientist, because he discovered the drug which is easily made the human body to be a transparent, just like a solid glass. His experiment or his discovery, it is very good, but he applied himself. Why he applied himself? The first thing, he is ready to take a revenge on some other person. Who is that person? This Griffin was a lawless person. His landlord, he disliked him and tried to eject him. Eject him, it means forced to throw out. He is ready to throw out this person from the home, so that this Griffin, he discovered the drug and he swallowed the drug. After that, what he did? He took a revenge on this landlord by set the fire to the house of this landlord. So after that, what happened? After that, this griffin, he wandered just like a homeless wanderer, without a clothes, without money, and quite invisible, without a cloth, without a money, without a house. How the person will be on this earth? So that he thought, I have to swallow the drug which is discovered by me, and what are all the things I needed, that I will take it, or that I will get it easily. So that he thought, and he did it. Happened to step in some mud and left footprints as he walked. So um, next is related to, what is the next story relevant this? He escaped easily enough from the boys who followed his footprints in London. But his adventures were by no means over. He had chosen a bad time of the year to wander about London without clothes. It was midwinter. The air was bitterly cold and he could not do without clothes. Instead of walking about the streets, he decided to slip into a big London store for warmth. He escaped easily because his physical appearance should not be visible, so that it's very easy for him to escape from everyone. These boys, two boys, they followed in the middle of the London. Till that they followed, even though they didn't get whose footprint is this. He had chosen a bad time. This was the bad time for him. Why? Why? Because he was wandering in the London without clothes. That was the mid-winter. You know, the winter season's cold. That was the mid of the winter. So bitterly it was cold, so that he wanted to wear a cloth. So instead of walking about the street, he decided to slip into a big London store for warmth. So he decided to enter. Slip into, it means here he is ready to get into the big London store for warmth. For warmth, why? Because he wanted to wear the clothes. That's why maybe it is related to the woolen, because he wanted to protect himself from the cold. Closing time arrived, and as soon as the doors were shut, Griffin was able to give himself the pleasure of clothing and feeding himself without regard to expense. He doesn't have money, so that this invisible person's entry, it also very easy in this big London store. He broke open boxes and wrappers and fitted himself out with warm clothes. Soon, with the shoes, an overcoat, and a wide brimmed hat, he became a fully dressed and visible person. In the kitchen of the restaurant, he found cold meat and coffee, and he followed up the meal with sweets and wine taken from the grocery store. Finally, he settled down to sleep on a pile of quilts. So what he did? When he entered to this big London store, he broke open the clothes. It was very easy for him to get a cloth and the food. Why? Because he was an invisible person. No one can identify the person. So that it was very easy. How he get the food? He broke open the boxes and wrappers and fitted himself out with the warm clothes. Completely he got a warm cloth. Okay. The next is with the shoes and overcoat also, and white brimmed hat. Brimmed, it means edge of the uh, wide brimmed, it means edge of the hat. Edge of the hat is related to here, just like this one, Mr. Bean, he used to wear the cap, you know about that. Uh, just imagine that we are also ready to wear it. This one, just I will show that picture. This is the brimmed hat, edge coated. This is brimming. This is called brimming. Okay. Mr. Bin, he used to, while he is making a joke, on that time he used to take out his hat, and then he is ready to keep the cat inside that that type of a hat. Okay. Next, shoes and overcoat and wide brimmed hat. He became fully dressed and visible person when he wore an all lace coat, hat, and the other warm clothes. Then he became a very visible person. Okay. See here, this is a mystery lesson. Before that, the person, he was completely invisible. When he wore an all lace, the overcoat, shirt, and then pant, and the shoes, and the hat, he became a visible person. Then how he get a food? He went to the restaurants, and he found a cold meat and a coffee, and he followed up the meal with the sweets, wine taken from the grocery store, because that was a mall, just like a mall. Finally, he settled down to sleep on a pile of it. Those who are very happy with the food and the clothes and the money, for them, they are ready to, anywhere they are ready to sleep. The same way, this invisible scientist also, he used to sleep on the pile of quilts. Quilts means bed. If only Griffin had managed to wake up in a good time, all might have been well. After getting all these full meal as well as a warm cloth, it was very difficult for him to get up in time. So the sentence is, if only Griffin had managed to wake up in good time, all might have been well. As it was, he did not wake up until the assistants were already arriving next morning. The mall was opened. The assistants, they entered, and they saw, when he saw a couple of them, okay, when he saw the couple of them approaching, he panicked and began to run. They naturally gave chase. In the end, he was able to escape only by quickly taking off his newly found clothes. So once more he found himself invisible but naked in the chill January air. So when he was taken out all his clothes and the hat and the shoe, on that time his invisible personality, he will get an invisible personality. When he wore on all these things, on that time it would be a visible personality of this scientist. Okay. And this time he decided to try the stock of a theatrical company in the hope of finding not only clothes but also something that would hide the empty space above his shoulders. Shivering with cold, he hurried to Drury Lane, the center of the theatre world. First, he escaped from the landlord's house, and then second, he entered to the mall. In there also, he escaped from the mall people. The third time, he entered to the theatrical company. Theatrical company, it means a drama company. And he thought that he was finding only not only the clothes but also something, the empty space, hide the empty space above his shoulders. He became, he thought about that. I became a very good person. I became a very which one? It means a joyful person in this area by using the props. Stock of, it means props like artificial moustache and some other articles which is ready to earn, just like a drama company people. Okay. So, Drury Lane, it means here, it is in London. It's the center of the theatre world. So, he entered there and he wore the clothes which is related to the drama people, as well as he enact like that also. He soon found a suitable shop. He made his way invisible upstairs and came out a little later wearing band-aids round his forehead, dark glasses, false nose, big bushy side whiskers, and a large hat to escape without being seen. He callously attacked the shopkeeper from behind, after which he robbed him of all the money he could find. When he entered this theatrical company, he had seen all the props which is used in the theatrical company, as well as he found a suitable shop in that the center of the theater world. That name of the place is Drury Lane. In that he found a suitable shop. It was made him very easy to rob everything. He was invisible and he entered that shop, as well as he was wearing bandages around his forehead, and then glasses, false nose, big bushy side whiskers, and all these, a large hat he wore. Before escaping from that place, he callously attacked. Callously, it means regularly he attacked by the shopkeepers in every way, but he was invisible. On that time, he used to show his invisibility from behind, after which he robbed him of all the money he could find. He started to rob the money from the shopkeepers also. So I hope you understood this first part very well.